This is Fam Electric Ghost, and we are live on our Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter channels with Siquoyia Blue for the first time. We'd like to welcome you to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Now, we have a sponsor. So, Newsly.me is an iOS and Android app that actually takes this podcast and makes an audio only version of it. So, this podcast will be on the air on Newsly. So, you can stop scrolling and start listening and use coupon code GHOST2021. That does work. And you can get 1 month free premium subscription. So, stop scrolling and start listening. Go to Newsly, use coupon code GHOST2021 to get 1 month free premium subscription. So, that's something we wanted to say at the beginning. So now we've got your website out. On the bottom, we always encourage anybody who watches the program, make sure you go to the website of the artist that we're talking about so you can get all the information about them that is possible.
Yep.
So one of the first questions we always ask musicians is, at what age did you get into music? Can you
Oh,
remember?
man. So 12. I
12.
started singing at 12 because I felt like it was like a way to escape, because at first I thought I wanted to do basketball because I thought I was tall, but I really wasn't into basketball like I thought. So I started doing music and I started singing at the YMCA. I had a counselor that he would always sing gospel music to me, and then I started singing it, and then I started singing all types of songs to all the kids in the daycares and stuff, and they were like, "Oh man, sing Kelly Price, sing all types of songs," and I would just start singing it. I wasn't. It was just fun to me, and so I just kept doing it since then. And it's been a journey. It's been experimental because with music, you got so many different ways you can do music. So, yeah, that's when I started.
That's interesting because, like, part of what we do is, if you've ever seen us, we call ourselves Expansive Sound Experiments. Is my own indie label. I am a keyboardist, sound designer, producer, and I like to mix genres. So when people try to pin me down, try to say, "Oh, you're EDM," you're like, "No, I'm expansive. I could do Sun
Yep.
Ra, I could do Punkadelic, I could channel Stevie Wonder, like it's whatever I feel like, and I don't want to get pinned down." But
Yeah.
so it's really cool one of the things I have noticed, I've interviewed like 140 artists since 2016,
Wow.
is a lot of artists, they start at a very young age. They kind of, musicians and poets and actors, they all seem to know that they have this kind of muse or they feel it. Is that what you felt? Like you felt like that you just naturally kind of wanted to be in the arts in that way.
Yeah, it was just like I wasn't the best in school. I didn't pay attention and I said, "Oh, this is something I can do and I'm good at it and people seem to enjoy it." So it was kind of drawn to me, but in a deep way. It wasn't like in a way where I'm trying to fit in, or it
Hmm.
was like it just pulled me in. It's like spiritual to me. And like you
Yeah,
said, I couldn't be pinned down to one genre, and they kept trying to put me in it. And I'm like, no, that's why I call myself an abstract soul singer, because I'm
yeah,
abstract. I don't know
that's
what I'm
cool.
gonna do. You might hear me sing a country meets R&B song the next day. I don't know what I might do. So that's one of the things that is unique about my style of music.
Well, I think that's what I'm always going for. In today's world, I always like the people who merge. Like I was really big into progressive rock bands, like Yes and Genesis, and why? Because they would channel jazz, fusion, classical, and rock and psychedelia all at the same
Ooh,
time. And being a
yeah.
keyboardist, I was always very interested in the way like Bernie Worrell at Funkadelic, how he introduced like classical structure into funk. And
Mm,
he was very good. I mean, he actually was classically trained from Berkeley, and so he would take all the funk coming from Bootsy and George, and then give it structure because he knew how to do that. And
wow.
so that's why they had this really interesting sound that even hip hop today, samples funkadelic like at the core
Yes.
because it's really foundational music, like James Brown's music. So yeah, I've always been the kind of person that would, my father, would play James Brown and then Nat King Cole. My mom would play the
Mm,
Carpenters. My brother, who's 7 years older, we'd be playing like Jeff Beck and Led Zeppelin and Jimi Hendrix. So I was
oh yeah.
hearing like everything, and I was like, well, that's cool.
Yeah, I think that's how artists, I mean, well, not every artist is different. You got some that's drawn to it, then you got some that's kind of trying to find a way to fit in. But the artist that's is coming from the soul, you're kind of pulling from different,
Mhm.
musical ancestors, I should say.
Yeah, it's like your reference points. One of the things I always ask people is like your reference points. You might hear my cat in the background; she's going crazy.
Aw.
Yeah, the different reference points you have in music is like your heroes. Like I think the people that you kind of like want to like, I guess your reference points or your influences.
Mhm.
You like when you're a musician and you've been playing a while. I'm like 54, and sometimes I'll start playing and I might channel some like Monk or Sun Ra or Davis, and I didn't even realize
Ooh.
that somebody go back and say, "Hey, why were you doing that line?" I said, "Well, it was kind of in my subconscious, and it just came out."
There you
You know?
go, the subconscious, like Tupac said that the music was coming from his ancestors. A lot of his music coming from his ancestors, and that's what it feels like. Sometimes, like, dang, what? How did I come up with this? This is not something I went through, but it
Mm,
just came to me, and I could feel the like it was real. And I was like, that's when you know, okay, this is you a true artist. Rather you become a millionaire from it or not, you're gonna
yeah,
be doing it forever. That's it.
yeah,
When you
because
get
you
to
can
that
kind of
point.
yeah, you can kind of channel it. Like I used to, there was a story that Hendrix he used to be a sideman for the Isley Brothers. And one time they were recording and he deviated from the song, and then they went and asked him, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Well, the universe kind of gave me this thing and I had to put it down. I couldn't like not put it down." And Hendrix was like
Mm.
very much like that. He would be like, "I'm gonna put it down. If you could fire me, but like I
Yep.
heard something and I had to put it down."
Yeah, cause sometimes cause it's weird. Cause as an artist, like, I kinda always feel like, "Oh, I gotta follow the rules," but then I always feel like, well, I look at myself also as, like, a painting artist, like, I'm
Mm,
like, "Okay, I'm creating this painting," and I sometimes just don't follow the rules, like, my last single, Player Hater, that came out last year, I kinda didn't follow the rules, but I did follow the rules, but I didn't because it was so different. I didn't do a lot of background vocals on it. It
mhm.
was just weird, but it was like if it just came to me and it was like, I gotta, this is the
Yeah,
way it's supposed to be in a weird way. And I said, even if I had a big crew of people helping me, I still kind of feel like I would have went back to that original sound that I created with Player Hater. So yeah, I
that's
can
really
understand that.
yeah. I think that's like the kind of thing about like when doves cry. You know, the Warner Brothers
Mm,
didn't want it to come out because it didn't have a bass line. And
mm,
Prince actually, I actually heard a version of it that has the bass line, and I know why
wow.
Prince picked the one that doesn't, because the version of it that doesn't have the bass line actually is more interesting because the bass
Mm,
line kind of busied it up, and then when you hear it without it, and Prince was really good at like going against like a lot of his producers, a lot of the executives at Warner Brothers would come in and say, "Hey, that's not finished." They told him like Dirty Mind, the whole thing, "That's not finished. You got to
wow.
finish it." And he's like, "No, I'm not going to finish it because that's what it is." And he would always be pushing back. If you read the stories about him, like
Wow.
he had to fight like all the time, even when he first started. They wanted to put him
Dang.
with Earth, Wind, and Fire, Maurice White as his producer, and he thought he would be happy. And he said, "No, I want to produce myself."
Man, you gotta love Prince. He's always been, just had his own road, his own vision, and not that's man, rest in peace, Prince, man, because he was the GOAT, man. He is the GOAT. Greatest of
Well, I
all
think
time.
what's cool about that is that to show a young artist, like at 17 years old, he
Mm.
turned down Maurice White from Earth, Wind, and Fire producing him.
That's
So that's
that's
like
man,
that's yeah, that's really showing a lot of confidence that like how could a 17-year-old kid have that level of confidence?
that's
But
amazing.
yeah, I
He
mean
had
that's
conviction within himself, and it's like when you have that confidence. I mean, I wish I had that confidence at 17, but he had that conviction, and once you get it in you, and the music coming from the soul, it's like there's no way somebody can throw you off of that. It's like
yeah, yeah,
and he
because
just
it's like
kept on.
you're driven. If you that's the
Yeah.
way I always tell people is like you don't necessarily go with the trends because I'm kind of a person I always talk about sound paintings like you were because I read a lot and I was watching documentaries about both Jimi Hendrix and the Beatles, like and George Martin
Mm,
specifically said when he started to record like the Beatles on Sgt. Pepper's and Rubber Soul that he purposely wanted to do like Monet in sound.
mm,
And was it what does that mean? I wanted to do sound paintings. And if you think about the
mm.
way Sgt. Pepper sounds, it's using the studio as an instrument to do layering, effects, backward tape loops. And he had worked on Peter Sellers' comedy records. And those comedy
Wow.
records had orchestras, special effects, all kinds of extra layers of multi tracks that most recordings didn't have. And the Beatles actually heard that. They heard the stuff he had done with Peter Sellers, and then they all kind of worked together to say, why can't we do that with pop music? Right.
Mm,
And that's how the
wow.
world of having these multi-tracks and these albums, that the idea that you can go in the studio and you can multi-track, you could do something that maybe you
Yep.
can't do live, right? The
Yep.
idea that you could actually use the studio to paint something. People use the DAW now to kind of
Oh, yeah.
sound paintings. And I really
Yep.
think a lot of music is sound paintings when you really get into the art of it.
It really is. I mean, it's just it's definitely, and I think people forget that music is an art. Like I see so many I'm always looking at podcasts and stuff, and they're always comparing other artists, and I'm like, can't you guys see this is art? Everything is different. The way this person layers it, the way this person does it,
Mhm.
it's just all different because it's their art, and it's the ones that, like I said, it's the ones that feel it in their soul, and it's a calling, it's a spiritual thing more so than
Yeah.
just you know.
Do you feel when you write a song, it's cathartic? Because I feel like I write songs because it helps me get through my life. And whether that song does well or not, I kind of use each one as to get through different moments in my life. And it's like a
Yeah.
cathartic thing. And I just have a need to do it. And whether it's going to be big or not, I just do it because I'm trying to serve that song.
Oh man, you just hit it on the head here. That's how I feel. My last single, Player Hater, it was about a bad relationship I got out of 6 years ago. And I said, you're casting spells on me like I can't see, And I just felt like I was, letting that situation go with Player Hater, saying casting spells on me. But the whole point of the song is I got out of it. You tried to ruin my dreams, but then I got out of the situation. So it was like a way of me getting that out, and it was like I didn't care if it was $1 million hit or
Hmm.
Jay-Z wanted to call me or anything. I was just like, this is cool. I put out something that, and I did on my own. This was the first song I ever recorded in my home, because
Hmm.
I really started trying to teach myself recording, and I'm still not the best engineer yet. I still have to send it to someone else, but I recorded it myself, and
Yeah.
it was just release. It felt so rejuvenating, and I just felt I just felt really good, so
Yeah.
it's
I think it's
definitely
one of the things
helped.
I love about, like, talking to singer-songwriters, because I'm a child of the '70s, right? I'm a 54-year-old guy, and I used to love the fact that, singer-songwriters, you get a full picture. It's like an audio novel, right? It's a sound painting, it's like a soundtrack, right? Because they are putting their heart and soul into it. In the old days, with the Nat King Coles and the Sinatras, even the Motown singers, a lot of them didn't write their own songs. Maybe
Mm.
Smokey wrote it or Marvin Gaye
Oh,
wrote
yes,
it, but they
Smokey.
didn't write it, right? They had a bunch of singers. They had the Funk Brothers and other people writing it. But it
Mm.
was like that. There was a period where you had the singer, and they was the singer with the vocalist. They didn't necessarily write the song, but the singer
Wow.
songwriter, I always thought, is really core because you really get a picture into that person's like thought, like reading a book.
Yeah. I mean, I do agree with that because it's like when it's different when you write the song or if the singer actually writes the song. I think the song comes out even better because it's coming from their spirit. I mean, but even
Yeah,
if you work with another writer, it's like, okay, cool, but it's like you should write a few lines in there too because I think Jennifer Hudson said it one time that somebody wrote, I think it was her first album or second album, she was saying, or was it Fantasia? I don't know if it was Jennifer Hudson or Fantasia, but they said that the writer wrote songs they just couldn't connect to. So they couldn't
yeah,
put the album out. And I just was like, whoa, that's crazy. Like you have both of them have strong powerhouse voices. And I'm just sitting here like, dang, it's like, but it's if they could write it or if they were writers, then it would be different, and
yeah.
so
It's
I do think it's better when you're a singer and songwriter. I think it's better.
You think of the whole kind of age of that is like the Beatles and Dylan and Hendrix and Morrison. Even again Janis Joplin. People started saying, "Wow, these people wrote these songs."
Oh,
And it
Janice, yeah.
represents like them. And if you listen to like Hendrix or Dylan, it's like there's something about the fact that they wrote those songs and that you
Mhm.
can feel like it's their life, right? You
Yeah,
can
you can
feel
feel
like,
Janis Joplin. It's like,
yeah, you
woo,
can feel that she's putting
it's
it in there. She's putting like that's her heart. Even Morrison, he was like a poet and he was putting all this poetry in the music that people hadn't done. I mean, Dylan does the same kind of level of poetry, and you don't get that sometimes if you're not the writer, right? You're not going to get
yeah.
that because people will say, "Well, that's not going to work," right? Because
Mhm.
like they start getting too verbose, or they get too. And well, then there's all these people say what you can't do. Like I always like the innovators they're able to kind of push it. Which
Yeah.
you
And
know,
I think, and I think there should be more, and like I'm actually starting off as an innovator like now because I feel like I'm, older now, and I feel like I'm more confident to say, hey, let's break some rules, let's
yeah.
change the game a little bit. And so I'm actually spreading the message to artists to feel more comfortable about putting out their real true music that they want to put out, because this is our art, and at the end of the day, you don't want to be someone you're not, so.
Well, the problem I have is like there's a certain set of producers in the top 20, right? Even top 40
Mhm.
that they get a formula and they just stick with it and just embed that sound on everybody, right?
Oh man, I've been through that.
And the
I've
problem
been
I
through
have
that.
yeah, well, it's not interesting. It can kind of burn out a genre. Like if everybody's using the same loop, same 808, the same kicks, the
Mhm.
same everything, and the same drops in the same position, and they're like, "Well, what are you doing?" Because
Yeah.
again, I'm a child of the 70s, and I
Mhm.
like the idea of the happy accidents. Like if you go back and listen to a lot of classic songs from the 70s and the
Mhm.
80s, and
Yeah.
you actually put your headphones on, you'll hear errors, right? You'll hear
Mhm.
timing changes, you'll hear people
Oh,
making
yeah.
mistakes, and the thing is they left it in. And some of these songs are so good. I mean, if you listen to the Stones, like the Rolling Stones, Keith Richards is not exactly running on like a BPM time. He is very unique in his rhythm, and it doesn't wouldn't clock at all. And so
Wow.
in today's world, how would you deal with that? Because if you got to deal with everything in the clock, it wouldn't work. So there's some
Mhm.
things like that. It's like you can't, Frank Zappa. How would you kind of control Frank Zappa? You're
Oh,
like,
yeah, I just thought about that. Like, wait.
you can't because it's
You
like,
can't.
so it's like, so it's like, is that bad to be somebody that never does it the same? He would never put a solo down the same way. He always wanted to change their arrangements when he played live. He wouldn't play it the same because he said it's boring.
Wow.
They,
Yeah.
so he didn't want to do it.
It's not fun anymore because what's the point of it? I might as well just, be at a job then if I can't be myself as far as like my style is like what the heck, it's boring because then, and I've been through it because I've been through with producers and they're telling me, hey, we need you to be more like Rihanna, or we need you to be more, because they always want to put me in R&B, and I'm
Yeah.
like, well, what if I want to sing a folk song? You ain't asked me, but it's okay, and at that point at a young age I knew I couldn't do this, and I was kind of like Prince saying, no, I'm not gonna work with you then. And I had family members saying, oh well, you might not ever get anybody to help you again. I said, well, I can help myself. I'll just keep going with myself,
Well, I think you have
because
to know what you want. I think, yeah,
yeah,
because I mean, you could end up being somebody's idea of what you should be, or you can be who you want to be, right?
yeah.
And
And
I
you,
always, yeah,
oh, my
so-
bad. No, I
no,
was gonna
but
say that you can get blackballed if, you
yeah,
get in
yeah,
there and try to change like that.
yeah. Because I mean, if you're in the structure of the studio system, they got their own things going on. But the thing I like is like, well, I like to be a producer that takes somebody, right, hear their demo, and I don't totally like deconstruct it. Like if I think I want to make it sound better, so I want to make you sound a better you, and I'm not going to go and try to make you sound like the ghost because I sound like me. It's like, why am I going to make you sound like me? That's not
Yeah,
my point. My
yeah,
point would be maybe I'd add a Moog line in there to enhance it. Maybe I'd add some Mellotron or I'd put something in that you didn't have because you didn't have access to it, right? So that would make that sound maybe a little bit different, but not change everything about it. Just
yeah,
enhance it. Do you run things through analog processors to kind of make things sound better? They put
yeah.
shadow vocals in to make your vocal sound better, but not necessarily go and throw tons of auto tune. Use analog preamps to push your vocal up naturally. There's all kinds of things you can do that can enhance it without kind of wrecking it.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, I totally agree with that. I mean, that's what I would do. If I work with other artists, I wouldn't trade change them. If you come to me and you sing folk music, I would just enhance what you already got. I'm not going to tell you to go and do this, to change your whole
Yeah.
style. So I totally agree with you on that one.
So when you write a song, like I always ask songwriters, like, how does it come to you? I mean, it probably comes multiple
Ooh,
ways, but like, is
comes
there?
multiple ways.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like different.
You
Well,
know,
what
it's
maybe you
weird.
could just describe the ways.
Well, it's funny, sorry to interrupt, but it's funny because, like, I can watch a movie and I'll be like, "Oh, I just thought of a song from this movie. It has nothing to do with my life," and I'll write a song. Like, I wrote a song called Bad Love War on my first album. and I have never been through anything like that. It was about a bad relationship, and they were living together, and he was doing wrong, and I never even been through that before, but I was able to channel it because of the
Mhm.
movie. I was
That's
so
interesting.
it's like I tapped into an
Tapped into it.
actress and did a song,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
tapped into someone else's situation, and the song was the bomb. It just turned out really great, and I worked with a really good producer that was out of the box. His beats are just all the way to the left, but it was like the right producer at the right time to
that's
for that
awesome.
album because it went with that flow. And then the same thing with my single Champion that I did a few years ago. I got that from a book. I read Paulo Coelho, 11 minutes, and I said, Champion. I thought a champion. And I
Wow.
recorded that, and it was history. I mean, that's one of my favorite songs is Champion. And it pulled out this type of voice, a different type of soulful, strong, get your
Mhm.
voice. And it was just calling it. The beat was calling it. I found the right beat at the right time. I bought the beat from someone. I got the full rights to that beat. And it just called me. And that's why I sung kind of tough on that one, a little harder on that one. And then also the story. Paulo Coelho is one of the best authors out there. And just the story, it had me come up with the lyrics. I was like, I got the lyrics just from reading this book, and I think it's amazing that that happens.
Well, I think that's the great thing about being a singer-songwriter, being a creator, because, you could be walking in the woods, you could be, like, on the bus, and then you get an idea, you start tapping it into your cell phone. You have no idea. I mean, you get all these ideas where people will write it on a napkin. Write it in
Yeah.
in a notebook, keep a diary, wake up in the middle of the night and have a full like I have a bedroom studio, so I got all my modes and everything here, and I got multi-track. So like sometimes I just wake up and I got a full like chord arrangement in my head. And I just
Wow.
jump on my Juno and then I put the multi-track on, I just put it down. And then I said, well, then I'll go back to sleep. But I just had something I had to put down. Kind of like
Yeah.
what Hendrix said, I kind of feel that sometimes. And I got to the point where I just have all my stuff in my room. So you see, all my,
Oh, see, yours is decked out there.
yeah. So I got all this stuff, and it's like I can just hit the multi-track, and I don't use computers. I use multi-track, so I don't have to worry about booting up. I hit it, and boom, I just got it. And
Sometimes it's something about the old school way because I got the new school way. I got the Garage Band and the
yeah,
Mac, and it's almost like I wonder how it was to go with the old school equipment. Is it would it be a different
I
experience for me, a better experience, or that's I'm
I
always
just got
curious.
it. What the problem I got is I have hardware synthesizers, right? I don't have like in the box. I got real Moogs and stuff, and I found it's
Wow.
better to actually put them into a multi-track. So I mean, I have modern digital multi-tracks, but they're not computers. They're actually like 24 track, 32 track multi-tracks, and they'll take each
Wow.
thing and bring them in, and then each track gets its own stem, and then I can mix them right on a mixing board right in front of me. So I got boards that I can go change things and add effects in. And I just like the idea of having all my sliders and all my dials because I'm a tactile person and I like not having to go into a PC with a Mac or something. Not that I can't do it. I
Yeah.
got stuff that can do that. But what I found is I just, like using that stuff because I'm a child of the 70s and I used to have the reels and I had the Tascams and the Fostexes and I just like using that stuff. And so
Yeah.
that's my choice, but people say
Yeah,
they
I
make
can
it harder.
imagine.
They make it harder for myself,
Ooh.
but it's like something about it.
Hey, you gotta do what's like, inspiring and that, gets you to want to go and record. If it's better that way, I would keep it that way. Keep going with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like everything's different today. Like you can do everything. Like I've got like an MPC, and I'll do modern clips based stuff on that, right? So I'll use like an Akai to do that. But when I have to work with another producer that wants to see something on Ableton, they want to see something like
Oh yeah.
on a normal DAW. So it's fine. I'll go and use that machine because it can translate. But some people they want to deal with me because I'm using all this analog stuff and because
Yeah.
that's the stuff that they heard that they liked. And so when you do music today, like it's so hard with the streaming services to actually make any money.
Yeah.
Um, do you unless you really get a big hit? Um,
I know,
do
right?
you do you work with like sync licensing and features and production and other things? How do you
So
like, work as a musician to like do that?
so I just started getting into sync licensing. I'm with Broad Jam. So I submit a lot of songs. I still feel like you need to have a whole bunch of songs to really get picked,
Yeah.
for these productions. I'm talking about you need to be recording 5 songs a week. And it may not be specifically for you to put out on title or anything, but it may just be for you to submit for that movie. Like I'm trying to do a children's song, so I can submit for some licensing for children's music and stuff like that for some commercials, or you heard
Mhm.
the Baby Shark song, Baby Shark, do do do
Yeah,
do do
yeah.
do. The guy gets blew up with that one song, and I was like, okay, and I kind of came up with this song in my head, a children's song in my head, and I said, okay, I got to get that recorded. So and I was like, I need to start recording like 5 songs a week so I can be ready. So one song might be crime, and then one song might be mystery, or
Mhm.
because if you listen to a movie, because I'm a movie head and show head, I love it.
Yeah, yeah.
I listen when I listen to a movie, I'm listening to the music too. I'm like, okay, I listen to how they're singing it, the weirdness of it. I said, okay, I see what's going on here. So like the thing with music licensing is making sure you have different type of songs so you can get picked faster. Um, so that's one thing I'm working on is I'm really diving into music licensing more than anything because I don't want to sing cover music out. I mean, it's not my
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
love all the great artists. I love Nina Simone, all the artists. I love to sing, but
Mhm.
I just I like to sing my own music if I'm gonna sing out. So I don't want to do cover songs. And I know a few artists out here in Vegas where I'm at that just stay booked at the casinos, but they're singing cover songs, back to
Yeah.
back, and that's how they make their living. And I think that's great. But I was like, that's not me.
Yeah, yeah.
It wouldn't feel
That's
as
like
fun to me. I'd be like, job, it's okay,
that's like
because
when I
yeah,
was 17 and we the first band I'm in, we're excited that we're playing at a pizza joint, or a bar, and we're playing all these cover songs, and then I got burned out on that faster than
yeah,
anybody because I'm
yeah. I was on.
I'm not into that.
Yeah, and I felt bad about it because I was like, I know I'd rather do music, but it's like I said the same. I feel like I'm doing a job to me when I'm doing cover songs. It's like, oh, I'm doing a job. It's like I might as well go and
Well, I
go
have
to
to do the
work.
same thing every night. It's kind of boring.
Yeah. Oh, your sound went out. Your sound's out. I can't hear you. Oh, there you go. Oh,
Yeah, I'm
unmute.
back.
There you
Sorry.
go. That's
Yeah.
okay. It looked like you muted.
Yeah,
But
yeah. So, yeah, so
yeah.
I click with my mouse too fast. But yeah, if the problem with doing that kind of thing, it becomes like a day job, and then there's a whole point to be in the music to me was the passion of it. And
Yeah.
you're looking at a person like Stevie Wonder, right? You don't
Mhm.
ever see like Stevie Wonder was ever like playing in a bar.
No. And
He's
if
like, he's creating like inner visions. He's making like songs in the key of life. He's very aspirational, right?
Mhm.
He had these really big ideas, very progressive, very
Yeah.
like you think about the song like Saturn. Man, that's super progressive,
Oh man, Stevie
right?
Wonder, man.
Yeah, I mean, Village Ghetto Land, like anything on songs in the key of life. You think about the structure and the stuff he was doing. I mean, I'm a synth
Mhm.
player, and when I look at Saturn, I'm just so like I just go like, damn, that's so awesome because what he did, I don't know if people know, he had a Yamaha GX1 with like a $300,000 synthesizer that he got
Oof.
most Barry Gordy to get him. And the thing about it that was really interesting, it was polyphonic. And if people understand, synthesizers were only like one note at a time, but that synth could do
Wow.
full chords. And the reason Saturn sounds like it does is Stevie was able to get a synthesizer that allowed him to do two-handed chords and arrange
Mhm.
something that's kind of classical, right, on a synth, but it sounds otherworldly because it's not real violins. It's like a synthesized violin. It's one of the first examples of actually using a polyphonic synth that powerful in music.
Wow. That
And
is
it's,
so interesting.
yeah, it's very, if you listen to it even today, it's like, it's super impressive. You really don't even hear modern synths sound like that because it's not
Wow, I'm gonna have to
digital.
check that song out again.
Yeah, it's analog. It's not
That's
digital.
interesting.
And it doesn't sound like the modern synths at all. Um, but
Wow. That's amazing.
I'm a synth head, so
No, I kinda miss the old school music, the when I listened to the kinda like record days with all those the old school artists. I can't remember all their names, Etta James and all those. I sit down and listen to it, I'm like, "Man, this is real raw. This is some raw music." Like,
well, yeah. Well, if
it's
you
like,
listen to like Otis Redding, I mean, like Otis
"Oh,
Redding's
that's the
voice. Oh
man."
my gosh! I mean, he
Ooh.
just, or even the guys in the Temptation, the falsettos that, or in the baritones that
Oh.
you can get out of
Oh, I
those two
love the
bands,
baritone.
like OJ's, any of the great soul bands, right? That had like multiple singers, and they had all this character where they have a falsetto, you have a smoky like falsetto, even higher than that with the Temptations. You could get.
Mhm.
Um, And you like even like there's like more like the Delphonics had amazing falsettos. You know, if you listen to the Delphonics, they were like one of my favorites just because the falsetto is so like unattainable by most people than what they
Oh,
would do.
dang.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just I love the artistry of that of being able to do when people could do that well.
Yeah.
It's really incredible. But what were your influences? I know you mentioned Nina Simone. Who
Oh,
else would you
yeah.
kind of name check that you kind of
Oh, man.
that inspires you?
Well, you know what? I grew up as like a 90s baby.
Mhm,
Um, so, I didn't really this is crazy because I started getting into the old school artists when I started actually getting to music at 12. But when I was a little child and I used to listen to music and my grandma Evie used to play music and stuff, it would be D'Angelo and Keith
mhm,
Sweat and Kelly Price and the Isley Brothers. And
mhm.
that's who I used to listen to all the time. I used to listen to Aaliyah, and I know she's more
Yeah, Leah.
90s, but
Yeah,
I
she was
loved
awesome.
Aaliyah
Yeah,
because you could feel she was feeling her
yeah.
music. She was singing from her soul. So Aaliyah um, and who else was it? D'Angelo. I don't know why I got so stuck on D'Angelo and Chico DeBarge, and I just like their
You like the way
subtle
they.
style of
Mhm.
soul. Like I think D'Angelo's first album, Voodoo. I think it's called Voodoo.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a very it
but
took a while to do the follow-up, but, I mean, I remember when that stuff came out, I
yeah,
was like I was always into, like, Maxwell and, like, Terrence Trent
yeah. There
D'Arby.
we go. That's another one, Maxwell. I used to listen to him all the time, and it was just like this. I just always felt those artists, and I always thought they were the bomb. And then, when I got older, I started going old school. I started going backwards, and I started
Back
saying, okay, because
further.
people used to tell me, oh, you're before your time, because I always sung so I just was out of the box at 16, 19. I'll be like, "Oh, let me go sing Slide and Family Stones. If you
Yeah,
want me to
yeah,
stay." I was going in there, and my first
that's a good place
song,
to go. That's a
yeah,
good
it
place
was
to go.
I don't know what it was, but I said, "I gotta do a remake of Slide and Family Stones." So I took my own lyrics, rewrote my own swag to Slide and Family Stones. I did "If You Want Me to Stay," and I had changed the lyrics around a little bit, but it blew up
Mhm.
on MySpace, and I was 20 years old. And people were like, and I remember a rep from Bad Boy was like, "You're unorthodox as I don't know what. I don't know why everybody's listening to you like this." I said, "Because they want
Well, that's why.
something
And
new," you
people
know?
want they don't want the same thing over and over because you guys just wanna find another Beyonce and you find another it's like they just that's the
Yeah.
you'll see all these people saying, "Can you sound X? Go sound like" it's like, well, you guys don't have any kind of creative well, A&R people probably
Yeah. They
don't want
don't.
are not they're not creative, so, like,
They're
they just
not
want
creatives.
they find something that works, they wanna run it to the ground. It's like you don't know you're gonna destroy the genre if you put out 100 million copies of the same style. Like, then
And
people are
that's
gonna
why
get
it,
bored.
and that's why music is we could, the artists aren't making as much money as they used to. If you watch Tink the other day, he was on the Breakfast Club and he said, "Hey, gonna do acting now." He said, "I might hang up music." He said, they don't want R&B anymore. They don't want real R&B. He said, "I'm about to start acting. That's where I'm making money at." And I thought that was pretty sad because like Tink to me was a great artist when he came out. And it's like, what the heck? How do we come from Nina Simone, Mahalia Jackson, and all these other Sly and the Family Stones, all these other soulful people? And
Yeah.
it's like now we're just saying, we're gonna just mix it with music and rap
Yeah.
R&B, and then
Yeah.
that's it. That's what's gonna be. It's like, well, why can't we mix genres and have a good time? Like, I wouldn't mind
Well, you
mixing folk with R&B or folk with, or just do folk by itself. Was like, I think stop boxing. It just shouldn't box artists.
well, they were like, are they saying they wouldn't allow a Tracy Chapman to show up today? That
They
problem I
would.
have is the idea that, they always have these rules, and then if you go back in the day, people broke the rules, like Bohemian Rhapsody, you're not supposed to have a song that long. You know,
Mm,
the idea of Hotel California, you're not supposed to have a song that long. And they both of those bands put songs out that were way longer than what they said they could do, and they became iconic. So
see?
the so it doesn't people telling you you can only do a 2-minute song, and then you go look at some modern, like, albums, with, they've got 5 or 6-minute songs, and people are like, "Well, why are you doing that?" It's like, "Well, because that's what the song needs." Like, the idea in progressive rock, you can have a song that have multiple changes, they might go 7 minutes long. These
Yeah,
old
I mean, I
old
think that's
Genesis songs,
fine.
like, Abbey Road. You're telling me you
Mhm.
couldn't have songs that are like on Abbey Road? Abbey Road's songs are very progressive. They kinda go they're like little vignettes to go from one to the next, and they're long.
Ooh, I'd
Yeah,
check out Abbey Road.
yeah, yeah,
That's
but and
interesting.
yeah, people don't realize like, and now people are going back and they're listening to Pink Floyd. And
Yep.
these are they have these, like if you listen to Dark Side of the Moon, those songs are telling a story. It's a rock opera. Like a band like
Yeah.
the Who, Tommy, they have like a two disc album. It tells a story. Yeah, and people say, oh, you can't
Wow.
do that. You can only do 2 minute bangers. Like no,
Oh.
you don't just you can't just do that. That's like it's gonna destroy music if that's all you're ever gonna do. You need
Mhm.
to be able to let people be artists and do other things. That's why I like talking to people kind of in the merging zone because then
Yeah.
I get to hear people still channeling progressive rock or experimental rock or indie rock or alternative or neo soul or traditional kind of retro soul. You got bands
Mhm.
that will channel that and they do it well and they have the full song structures. But
Yeah.
if you do, like the old days, and why not? Because it's
Yeah,
good.
and yeah, it's so freaking good, and now we're at a better time where artists now, you can, pay for ads to get your music out there and get it, possibly get booked and
Yeah,
perform your own music. So you don't really need a label trying to dig in your pockets and push you on tour forever and you can't get off or any, like
yeah,
we're so lucky now because now you can kind of do your own thing and make a living off of your music. You don't have to do cover songs. And I know a lot of artists that still want to do that. They have to put bread on the table, but I do think that artists that want to still just sing their own music, they can do it now. We got Facebook ads, we got Google ads. I mean, yeah,
yeah.
that costs a lot of money, investment, but you can the
Yeah,
it's
you can
there.
actually the thing is that, like, if you're an indie band or an indie artist and you set yourself up, it's not like if you get the old days where you got a record deal, right? And after 3 records, if you didn't hit the number, you're done, right? They
Yeah.
well, if you're an indie record and you get a core fan base and you find that you can travel to Europe and you can go to Asia and you can do your own, get bookers and get into festivals and do shows, you can actually work at a level that the record company would say is unsustainable, right? You could actually
Mhm.
make money,
Yep.
selling vinyl, your own vinyl and t-shirts to your
Yep.
hardcore fans. And your hardcore fan may be 50,000, 100,000, and they would say, well, that's not going to make you any money. But if you're indie, you could make the money.
Yeah.
So then you get to stay in your career for however you want, long you want to, rather than kind of getting axed out.
Yeah, you can make 100,000 a year or something like that, or even 60,000 is good. I mean, especially you have multiple things going on, kind of like me. Like I do different things, but it's like, yeah, that you can still do those things with music. You can make 60,000 a year, something like that.
Yeah, you can make enough to still operate and actually be
Yeah.
able to not have somebody tell you, "Well, you're off the label," because you
Yeah.
didn't hit the number, because the problem with the labels sometimes is, like, you have a hit, right? Well, how are you ever gonna, like, replicate that hit? I mean, Prince never did another Purple Rain. He never hit that number again. He hit close to it, but, like, the idea he could hit 8,000,000 over and
Yeah.
over, it doesn't work. Even the big guys don't do it. The
Mm-mm.
Eagles never did it. Like, nobody ever does that, and then they have these expectations like, "Oh, your next single gotta hit the same number that your other one."
Yeah.
How is that? It doesn't happen. It's very rare that it happens,
Hard.
you know
Yeah. Yeah, that's why
so
I like being independent now. I like it. I'm not making a whole bunch of money from it, but I still like that I can do what I want to do and have a good time, you know.
are you feeling that you have to do singles all the time, or do you like to put things together into EPs and albums? I always ask people because I'm like a child of the '70s again. I love listening to albums because I like to get the full picture. But I know we're kind of
Yeah.
in an age where it's like not the album is not the big thing. The playlist is the big thing.
I
So
still I still believe in the albums. I haven't done one in a while, I'm not gonna lie. I think that it was a process. I had to get my own studio. It took me a long time. I really just got my own studio this year. It just took me a while and then I was just doing singles. I only have one album, and I'm like, I gotta do another album or EP, and I'm plotting on
mhm,
next year. I got
mhm.
a single coming out by the end of this year, but next year I gotta do an EP or an album because one of the things on my bucket list was to do like a good amount of albums before I leave this earth. I if I
Mhm.
can do 10, I would be happy. I don't know if I can do
That's
10,
cool.
but I will push for 10 because I still have time right now. And now that I have my own studio, I'm learning how to be engineer. I'm learning instruments. I'm like, okay, I can do 10 albums before I leave this earth, and because that's on my bucket list. So I'm
Yeah.
working on that. And now it's so easy to find beats you can own because all the beats I buy, I have to own it because I have to submit. I'm submitting them to movies, and they want you to
Mhm.
own your stuff. So a lot of the beats, or either I do a deal with someone, but lately I've just been buying the beats that I like, and then I go and do a song. So, but yeah, I still think there's something about the EP and albums. It brings a sense of a story to me. It's like a journey, and each album might be different depending on the artist, especially experimental artists like me. Like my first album, Limitless, is not gonna be like my second album. It's gonna be my second album's gonna be totally different
Yeah.
vibe. You know.
That's what I love about, well, the idea of an album. You could be a band that continually puts out the same kind of structure, but it's like more fun to me as an artist to do something like, okay, I'm gonna do new wave, right?
Hmm.
But then I like punk, right? So
Oh
it's like, oh,
yeah.
so I like bands like the Clash and the Ramones and Blondie and stuff like that. So I'm working on this idea for an album for next year called Trash Wave, which is a combination of punk and new wave. So it's taking a
Ooh.
new wave vibe with a kind of Clash and Ramones punk attitude, like very loud, very raucous type of thing, but also have the new wave kind of feel. So it will sound like a Joy Division or a New Order or a Cure. So a combination of mixing those genres together and having
Ooh.
like a punk aesthetic with a new wave aesthetic at the same time. And so,
I like that. I might have to work with you one day because I want to do like a neo soul meets punk. I'm kind of weird. I want to do like a just I want to because I was watching this movie yesterday and I listened to the artist named Papa Roach, and
oh, Pop Roach, yeah, yeah, I
he
know.
was there was a song. The song was kind of depressing, but I that it was playing, but it was good. It was like, oh, okay. It felt so freeing the way he sung it. I was like, I could do a song like this and mix it with neo soul, and then it'll just be this exotic style. So yeah, I like when artists do that. That's so exciting. You got to let me hear it when you're done.
Yeah, well, it's kind of in the can because I got a new album coming out. I'm kind of crazy. I put the albums a lot, but I got an
That's
album
good.
coming out like on the 26th, and it's like an hour and a half long. It's not normal,
Ooh.
but it took 2 years to do it, and then in the same time I ended up doing another one, Trash Wave. But it's like, well, I can't put Trash Wave out; it will compete with what I already did. So I'm pushing that out to 2023, but it's already done. But yeah, it's just kind of crazy because I got my studio in my room, so I just keep on writing. I keep on
Yeah.
writing all the time. But
I would too. I'm probably gonna be right behind you in a minute now that I have like a good setup here. I'm gonna be right behind
yeah,
you.
once you have it, like once you decide, well, I'm gonna own it, so I don't gotta have to be stuck in the studio. Then
Yeah,
I
paying all
built
his
this
money.
thing. Yeah, like built it like 10 years ago, and I just keep on because I have it. I use it. I didn't let it go to waste. I was like, okay, I'm gonna use it like all the time, and I just put
Yeah.
tons of stuff together. But the cool thing, what I like to do is like I build like all my own beats with like analog and digital hardware synths. Like everything I do, all my beats and stuff, I build from scratch. Um,
Oh,
so
wow.
so
That's
I'm just like
cool.
I don't. I mean, I work with other people and I've had bands, but I'm kind of like like a what do you call a control freak, and I've got the machines. I got the 808s. I got the 909s. I actually got the real drum machine, so I can really make my own stuff. And so I say, why am I gonna pay somebody when I know how
Yeah,
to
you
actually
don't.
do it? So
Yeah.
I just do it. But
I would too if I knew how to do it. I would do it.
yeah, well, it's just part of the synthesizer. I've been a synthesizer workstation type of person, using these old school hardware synths where you build the whole song. You can actually build everything. Yeah,
That's
and
amazing.
from that, it was before the DAW came. You had like Phantoms, like Roland Phantoms and Korg Chronoses, and you can actually build the whole song. And once you have like
Wow.
a machine like that, like, well, why would you ever have to do anything? Because you can build everything. You can actually see it and do all the tracks and get
Wow.
multi-track other ones. But I just got really into production because I used to be in bands and then people didn't show up.
Oh,
And then I'm
yeah.
like,
I heard about that, about
yeah,
from a lot of
like, why?
artists.
Yeah. So I was like, I didn't want to stop. So I said, well, I'm a synthesizer player. So the cool thing about being a synthesizer player, well, I can learn drum machines. I can learn sequencers. I can learn how to play strings. I can do the bass lines. I can do the piano. Well, then
Oh,
basically I could do everything, right? So
dang.
so then just I was gonna do it all myself then.
Yeah, just do it yourself. Hey, you know, that's how it be sometime. I used to always say I need a vocal arranger, right? And I said, you know what? I couldn't really find one or one that was not trying to take my rights or trying to do whatever. So I just said, you know what? I just do it myself.
Do
I
it yourself.
find my own style. It's just
Yeah.
not,
Well,
you're not
that's
gonna
what's
be
cool.
typical.
Yeah, well, I think what's cool is that once you get the confidence and then you realize you could get the ownership of the means of doing it. It's like the means of production. Like the DAW has, to me, the cool thing about it has it is kind of given anybody they can be in your bedroom and have a bedroom producer thing. I actually have a bedroom producer festival every year where I have the podcast
Oh,
guests actually play live. And I had like 20 guests play live. I have two of them. I had one last year and one this year in February. And what I like to do is like to take all these bedroom producers and then have them do live shows. And it's really it shows that a lot of people have been able to uh, you know channel whatever they wanted to as their own vision. And I like to show
oh,
people like how diverse that vision is. I had people from Iceland, you know, Australia, Berlin, Canada, UK, US. There's
oh,
so
man.
many different people doing things and so many different scenes because I'm like a worldwide looking for people. So I talked to some band in South Africa, and it's like anybody that does something cool. I don't really care what genre it is as long as it's cool.
Yeah, I know that's right. I'm the same way. You know, I don't really care as long as it's cool. I'm down. I just love all types of music.
'Cause I think that's the world of people is like if you like, well, if you're just thinking like in your neighborhood, it's not going to kick. But that's not the way the world is. Like you get somebody in Australia that loves your song and you didn't even know,
Yeah, I
right?
had to learn that. I had to learn that because I always felt like the oddball, in my 20s, because I was like, oh man, I'm such an oddball. No one around understands my style like that. But then you got somebody from Brazil jamming to you, and they tell you
Yeah.
like you turkey, and you're like,
Yeah,
what the
Argentina.
heck?
There's like they got some
Okay,
fans in Argentina, and I'm like, wow, I
yeah,
got the people were speaking Portuguese to me, and I'm like, oh, and I had to
wow,
translate it, and they were, oh, we're digging you, fan. I was like, wow, I guess I should learn how to translate Portuguese because I didn't know they liked me. but
yeah.
but it's so weird because I lived in Japan for 2 years,
Oh,
and
nice.
the only thing about the Japanese audience is like it's hard to understand if they dig it because they won't be very evocative. They'll wait till you're done and then clap. So it was really hard
Oh,
sometimes if you're playing and you're waiting for the feedback that you normally get in a live show. You're like, they're
like what
so
the no, no, great.
they're so quiet. It's like I don't know if I'm going over. I don't know if I'm going over because they're not really reacting. But
Oh
they're just so
man.
polite that it's okay, fine. And once I figured out the way they were, it's okay. That's cool. I get it. But yeah, every
Wow,
culture is
that's so
different.
fun.
It's different.
I can imagine. Like that's what I want to do, travel and stuff and do open mics. That's why I'm renewing my passport so I can get ready.
Well, yeah, it's the world. The world to me is like that's how you get the connections. If you think
Mhm.
about guys like Peter Gabriel, he had like this world music like on his album. So he had all these like South African artists, and he would go on tour and have like African artists on stage with him. And he was mixing
Oh man.
genres and mixing. You get the same thing with I believe, oh yeah, like Graceland. Paul Simon, he had the South African artist with him on that, and I think it's cool when you integrate music at all levels. All
Mhm.
different cultural experiences. It just gives you a lot more places you can go.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I love African music, the instruments they use, the swagger they have in it, and just the way
Yeah,
they approach the music is different, and I love it. I just love it. The dances they do with the music, I just love
yeah,
it.
it's just really cool to see it. Because like I think it's just cool to channel whatever you can. I'm part Cherokee, and I like to try to bring kind of like that kind of mysticism, like Native American mysticism, into my music. Because like Hendrix was Cherokee, and he used to actually bring a bunch of mystical stuff into his music. That's why it kind of was the way it was, and people didn't realize it. But I read a lot of stuff about him, and he was like, he had a song called Cherokee Mist, and it kind of channeled this kind of feeling he got from his grandma, and
Oh
it was
wow.
pretty cool. And not a lot of people they get into that kind of stuff, but I think it's really cool to see somebody trying to channel like who they are, or
Yeah. I mean,
who they
I'm
need.
into that because I'm a metaphysician. That's what my degree's in. So I'm all about mystical and spirituality and magic, because I believe that music is a frequency. So, you
Yeah,
know,
definitely.
you're singing on a certain frequency, you're gonna attract people. Certain people are gonna be drawn to it, and I even know why. Or they might be like, I don't know why I want to keep listening to the song, but it's just drawing me in. It's a frequency. It's spiritual. It's
Wow.
magic.
Maybe you can go more into that, because I've always been into this idea that there's like this kind of universal note, that you can kind of tap into as an artist. There's like a
It
universal kind of
is.
keys that just you kind of like, you can channel it because you can hear it as a musician. You're kind of in tune, and so other
Yeah.
people maybe don't hear it until you pick up on it, and then they can understand it, and that's why you get like big audiences.
Yeah.
They'll get into it because you've actually hit that universal key, and they have
Yeah.
it's a universal understanding, right?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I definitely that's how I feel because I just feel like there's there's just like I said, when you get this I guess you say this omen to do this song or this rap song or whatever, and you get it into your whole vortex, it's almost like you're translating something from a higher power. And
Mhm.
you know and people, they don't know what they feel, or they might not know it, or some people do know it. You got a lot of people are saying, hey, this song make me feel depressed, or this song makes me feel mad. And it's because
Mhm.
that's because you're on that frequency. That's the frequency
Yeah,
that
yeah,
artist was
yeah,
on. He was
yep.
channeling, or she was channeling that frequency. Like if you listen to a rap song, and some of the rap songs, they're like, I'm gonna kill him and shoot this and that. Sometimes you're like, I feel angry now, if you don't know how to, because some
Control,
people can
yeah.
listen to stuff and move in a room full of vultures. Like now I'm older now. I'm like, oh, I can listen to a song and not take it in. But
Get drawn
some
into it,
people
yeah. They
some
can't
people
help
listen
it.
to music and they get drawn in, and they get this anger, or they get this feeling, and it's like it's because that person is on that frequency. And even if the artists don't know it, they still tapped into that frequency. And some artists do know they're tapping into that
Yeah,
frequency. You got
yeah.
some that do know what they're doing. So it's a real deep situation when it comes to music. Deep music
Well,
is
you
so
can
deep.
see it, like, if you get somebody that's into, like, the grunge and the punk and stuff, and they get into the mosh pits, it's
Ooh,
like it
yeah.
is so. I mean, I went to Woodstock, and Nine Inch Nails and Green Day were there, right? And those fans of those bands, like when they went on stage, they were hitting these frequencies that were very dynamic, and they made the people kind of like live mini riot, because
Yeah.
that's kind of what it channels. It's like when you hear it, it is so kind of jarring and so kind of powerful,
Hmm.
and it's kind of this staccato attack. It's got this very hard attack that kind of triggers people to get aggressive, and
It does.
you can see
And
it
some
in
of them
real
get
life.
hurt in there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, I
you
see
can
them,
see
like,
it.
jumping around and bouncing around, and it just gets so frenetic about it. I'm like, but it kind of does drive them that way,
Yeah,
you
it
know.
does. And I was like, that's why I certain punk songs are okay, like, but then some of them are like, I can't. I mean,
It's too much.
it's too much going on here, and I'm an empath, so I can feel things easily. So, but I
Yeah,
still
yeah, it
can.
might be too heavy.
I know how to block it out at the same time. But I ain't gonna listen to all the music now.
But so, so you're planning for this year. What are your big plans? Do you have like immediate new releases coming?
Yeah, so I just the producer just finished the beat, Our Music. He just finished the beat, and it's like a the beat is so different from what I've used before. It's like a jazzy slash
Oh,
neo soul beat, and it's
hmm.
almost like a I don't know how to explain it, but just a different type of Swazi beat, but you can dance to it. But it's like a
Hmm.
mix of jazz meets neo soul meets a little tad bit of techno. So I was like, this is cool. So I'm about to be working on that, and I'm gonna release it by the end of this year. I don't want to say a specific month, but I'm gonna release it by the end of this year, because
That's cool.
this is probably gonna be a really good, great jazzy neo soul dance song, and I'm gonna definitely push it.
That's awesome. It's cool to have like that type of focus. When you're working on something new, I love it when I hear artists, in the midst of a project. That's always exciting. And so,
Yeah.
we like to, on this program, I had artists that come back multiple times to actually push their project. Like, so when people typically on my show, like if a band is in the middle of something and then they actually get to the end, then like the second time they come on, they're actually there for the album release. So we've had people come back and actually be like a week before the album, and I kind of walk through or show the video if it's a single, kind of go into a big campaign mode and actually like, well, we're going to drop the single, we're going to go on tour, we're going to do this, and this is like a stop they make to do that. So
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. Hey, I'll come back on.
yeah, well, it's
It's
always cool to have artists. We like to have artists of every genre. We've been trying to get more and more um, um, you know artists that are in different genres. If we've had not as many soul artists as we've wanted to, because I guess they didn't know who we are, and we're kind of an electronic experimental artist, and so sometimes people just think, oh well, he's only going to talk about that. But we've had classical musicians, we've had bands from Nashville, we've had we hit every genre. So just
yeah.
trying to let everybody know, like, just because I didn't talk about neo soul for the last 2 episodes doesn't mean I wouldn't. Um,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean I wouldn't talk to hip hop artists, and we're starting to get more varied people because they're starting to realize I was kind of getting pigeonholed, but now I think
Oh,
people
no. Yeah, I'm super open-minded, so even if you was just all you knew was punk rock, I'll still be on here talking, because I just think that music is music. Even if it's not my favorite genre,
real.
I still respect the music of every artist. So,
Well, that's awesome to have such a dedicated artist as yourself, because you're dedicated to your vision, and we love to have people tell their story, so that other people who are in this they're in this place, they're thinking like, "Whoa, do I have to go with a producer? Do I have to?" The fact that you can speak to wanting to do it your way.
mhm.
I think that's really positive. I think that gives like people to look up to. So.
Thank you. And I hope I inspire someone to go after and be a new voice into music and keep going after your dreams and don't let nobody stop you. Stay confident in yourself because you need confidence. That's the main thing before anything is confidence.
Oh yeah, the other thing I always ask, like, if have you done a lot of live shows because of COVID? I always forget to ask because a
Um,
lot of people haven't done it, but lately.
I did in the past. Like I used to sing for Carnival Cruise Lines and in my early 20s. And then I didn't like singing cover songs, so I got off and then
Yeah, yeah.
I did a few shows in Atlanta. Like I sing at this open mic place called Urban Grind
Mhm.
um and any just like little cafe shop. I would sing my own music. I would do poetry because I'm also a poet. So
Oh,
I used to do
awesome.
poetry and mix it up with some music and it was fun. I haven't performed lately in the last few years, actually. I just been submitting my songs for movies and TV shows, and that's only been for a year. So I do want to start performing again. So if anybody's interested, I do want to start performing my own music again.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
open to that because I do get people to ask me to sing cover songs or something like
yeah,
on a
yeah,
site that I was on at one point. But now I said, you know what? I really want to stick to my guns and just do my own music. So that's what I'm trying to do now. And
yeah. Well, if we do our
yeah.
Peg Bedroom Producer Festival again this year, yeah, it's basically we just do a live online thing, and people kind of run unplugged from wherever they are, or they actually get a sound stage and do it wherever they do. But
Ooh.
yeah, we had a band from Australia actually went to a sound stage and actually performed from there. Then we
Wow.
had other people actually really do a bedroom producer thing where they had acoustic guitars, or they just did unplugged, or they used their DAW and muted and unmuted tracks and sang live to it, or actually played live wherever they were in their garage or basement. And it was kind of cool because we got people to do different things, and we had also people submit video, like if they couldn't get the live thing to work, they actually put video together, and we did those too. So they did
Oh,
people
that's so
shared video.
fun.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And we're hoping to do another one this year. We did one in February. We did one the year before. We go like 3 days. We do Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we run like all day. Like
Wow,
the
that is
bands from
fun.
all over the world. So we run at 7 in the morning. We get bands from like Europe and Asia, and running at night. We get people from the Pacific, from Western United States and stuff like that. But
Wow, that's fun. Hopefully, I'll know how to play my ukulele by
well,
then.
that'd be cool. Like, if you have
I
something
haven't.
cool.
I'm
Well,
trying to
yeah.
learn.
Well, that's awesome because we like do that's the cool thing. If you do unplugged, then you can have somebody on an acoustic guitar or a mandolin or ukulele, it really, I think it's really cool to see an artist do that, because I think
Yeah.
it's something that you won't get in other settings. And since I've always kind of pushed that when I do that festival, if you can do something that intimate, that's really heartfelt, it actually goes over really well. So that's why I try to tell people, like, maybe you go with that instead of using your DAW. You know.
Yeah, that would be more fun, honestly. If I do live, I'd rather do my ukulele. I'm trying to learn it, so hopefully
Mhm.
I can learn it soon. That'd be
Okay.
cool to just record a song full ukulele.
Well, open the invitation once I get this thing set up. We could talk.
Thank
So yeah,
you.
thank you very much for being on on the program. Everybody, go and look at the Siquoyia Blue website.
Yeah.
We're going to be on Spotify later tonight as a video podcast. We're already on Twitch and YouTube and Facebook. Please make sure you hit the hyperlinks and support the artists that we talk to, and make sure you subscribe if they're on any place that you can subscribe, download, playlist. That's how people get noticed in this business. So please support the artists that we bring on this program. Thank you very much for being on the program, Julia.
Thank you. Welcome. Thanks, everybody.